Welcome, everybody. This is Ray Maietta, president of ResearchTalk, and we have another one of our qualitative conversations today. We're going to be talking with Alison Hamilton and one of her summer intensive courses. Joining us will be Paul Mihas. Paul, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Paul Mihas. I'm a qualitative researcher and consultant at the Odum Institute at UNC Chapel Hill, and I'm also a consultant with ResearchTalk.
Thank you, Paul. And Jeff, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Jeff Petruzzelli from ResearchTalk. I'm a qualitative research specialist, and I've been here since 2001.
Thank you, Jeff. And Allison will introduce herself in just a moment. And the course that we're featuring a conversation about today is Qualitative Methods in Rapid Turnaround Projects. And the subtitle is Strategic Decision Making for Rigor and Flexibility. Both parts of that title are critical. The course is offered July 30th and 31st. And Allison, if you could introduce yourself and just kind of a quick statement about here's how Alison Hamilton came to be in position of not just offering this course this year, but it's something you do regularly, formally with us as a course, but almost daily you're giving people tips, strategies, lessons in this topic.
Hi everyone. I'm Alison Hamilton. I'm an anthropologist, implementation scientist, professor in the Department of Psychiatry at UCLA, and a research career scientist in the VA. And I've been teaching this course for ResearchTalk, where I've been a consultant for a few decades, since 2013. It's always one of my favorite courses to teach because the work that we're doing in this area of qualitative methods is constantly evolving and constantly shifting and growing and expanding, and that makes it really exciting. So some of what I taught in 2013 is still going to be present in 2025's course, and then a lot will be new and I mean, not entirely new, but more of an evolution of where this work has been going for many years, based on not only what I've learned and seen across my projects where we apply these techniques, but just learning from the people who I've been teaching and working with for many years. The questions that people ask, the ways that people think about things differently, just makes it a very dynamic aspect of what we can do with qualitative methods, really focused on projects where the demand for the qualitative results might be of a faster nature. You've got to turn around some type of report or presentation or summary to someone who really needs it for whatever reason in many different fields. And you've got to do that quickly. And ways that we can think about using qualitative methods to be able to accommodate that rapid turnaround timeline, but still do it with rigor, even though we want to do things a little bit more quickly, and also still maintain our spirit of inquiry with our qualitative methods, even though we are turning things around more quickly.
So as you think about this timeline where not just you've been teaching, but doing rapid turnaround, um, there's so much that you put forward. And I think about all of your projects, right? And many of them have invested parties who, as you said, are really needing information and not just wanting it, but really the utility of it is there. Many
Mhm.
of them want ongoing conversations. Many of them have deadlines and closer than you might like, all of these kinds of things. So you're finding different ways to gain knowledge, share knowledge, and do it in ways that may not be typical for qualitative researchers. And I think about the folks who choose this course and the folks who bring questions to us about it. And sometimes there are people who say, how can I just speed up my qualitative in general? And there are other people who sometimes think, what is rapid turnaround? And they worry about what you protect, the rigor and feasibility. And what I'm wondering is, why should any qualitative researcher, not just someone who wow, we have to turn this around fast. The folks who are working with us, the folks who we're talking to about this information, the folks who brought the project to the table, they need information. But, so if somebody's not in that situation, why should any qualitative researcher on any qual project, like what would they get if they sit through with these 2 days sharing the conversation with you?
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that we emphasize in all of our work in Research Talk is the issue of alignment and thinking about how can we align our methods with the questions that we're asking. Not that we wouldn't shift them, because sometimes we shift our questions. What we think about in more rapid turnaround qualitative work is the question of audience and the question of end goal. And the combination of end goal and audience. What does that audience want and need and expect in terms of products within a very particular timeline? And so what we're often in the situation of producing with more rapid turnaround work are not typical academic products within that timeline. It doesn't mean we won't do them, but we just might not do them within the month that we have or the 3 months that we have to turn around a product. And so I I think for anyone, just this idea that we would look at this relationship between the questions we're asking, the methods we're using, the timeline we have in terms of feasibility, and the expectations of our audiences, that I think it matters beyond rapid turnaround projects. Um, they may not all be sort of at the same level of intensity or import across different types of projects, but we do, I think, increasingly need to think about what we're doing our work for, who we're doing it for, and what their expectations are in terms of how they will be able to receive what we do. Um, we can have different perspectives on that and what our relative responsibility is for that. But depending on the type of work we do, we really may need to align, to use that word again, with what those constituents are wanting from this work. And so if that is a helpful way of thinking about how we do what we do with qualitative methods, then I think it could, really be relevant to people who are going beyond the sort of rapid turnaround um, rubric to this.
For Jeff and Paul, anything on what's been said so far that you want to follow, or any ideas spurred from the conversation at hand? And then, of course, if you want to bring anything in, let's check in first with Jeff, and then we'll talk to Paul.
Yeah, Allison, and I always go to the course description. You mentioned maintaining attention to emergent discovery, and that's such a big part of what we do in qualitative research, and it's a huge focus at Research Talk, that idea of emergent discovery. I would imagine when you're doing rapid turnaround type work, you kind of have to maintain a focus on the task at hand. So what role does emergent discovery really play in rapid, and how do you kind of contain contain your focus?
Yeah, it's a really excellent question, Jeff. Um, I mean, one thing that we've started to, and this is a little bit more concrete of an answer, and I'll try to get a little bit more philosophical in a minute, but one of the things that we often do in our rapid turnaround work is literally create space, like whether it's a slide or a document or however we want to hold on to it, we make space for surprises. So we want to kind of have that lens or orientation toward unexpected discovery, toward things we didn't really set out to hear about, learn about, ask about, see, etc., but that almost inevitably come up when we're doing qualitative work, because we just can't know everything about what it is we're going in to study. We can, have a pretty good sense of things and be a little bit more focused as we need to be in rapid turnaround work toward the goals, as I was mentioning before, of this work. But we want to keep that room for discovery and be really intentional about having a literal space to document the things that we weren't expecting. Um, I have found in turning around different products for different types of constituents that they are often very, if not more, interested in the surprises. So even though we give them what they've asked for, we, do our best to answer the questions that they enlisted us to ask about. When we get to, okay, yes, here are the things you were looking for, here's the information you wanted, and we also heard, about these other aspects of this phenomenon. It usually is like, oh, I didn't know that. That's interesting. We didn't know about that. And so some of it is just getting that reaction from the audience to know, okay, we might be onto something here. I think because this work in more rapid turnaround context is faster than we might do our work otherwise. It's important to be intentional about that because it can get lost if you're not kind of keeping it top of mind on the radar for, this is going to be a component of what we do, even though we've got a more focused approach to collecting the data and analyzing it.
Yeah. And Paul, let me invite you into the conversation with us.
Sure. So I'm thinking about researchers who really struggle with integrating across data and looking at conceptual bridges. Can you talk about how Rapid helps people with this process of discerning insights across transcripts and data?
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of it is an excellent question. A lot of it has to do with getting and staying organized. I mean, I know that sounds really practical, but that's part of the trick of getting this work done more rapidly is actually being very organized so that things are accessible, data are accessible. ResearchTalk has a technique called episode profiles, and those are really indispensable in this type of work because they allow us to see kind of different wholes, WHOLES, across the data that then can be candidates, let's say, for that conceptual bridging that you mentioned, Paul. We're always going to adhere to this idea that, the data is our guide. That's our North Star in Sort and Sift, Think and Shift. And we really emphasize that a lot in rapid turnaround because that's going to be the evidence, so to speak, that we use to move us toward that conceptual work. And unless and until we have that strong sense of what's in the data, we're maybe making leaps to conceptual takeaways that we haven't really grounded properly yet. So if anything, I think in Rapid, we pay more attention to that and make sure that we've got a really solid body of evidence to help bring us to those conceptual places. And then there are tools and techniques that we use within the approach that I think are really helpful for getting to that place in a more accessible way, or at least that's my goal. And that's a lot of what we work on. And I think that's one of the areas where this approach has really evolved over the years is kind of where do we go? What are our next steps beyond, the sort of core rapid turnaround work? People are getting very sophisticated with this and asking a lot of hard questions and really pushing the techniques to more of the direction that you're describing, Paul. So that's exciting.
It's great, Alison. In all of your work, you have such a vision to, as things start, where can we go? What do we need to do? What are the goals? But just such an awareness and the ability to be so nimble in being able to move as you find things you couldn't anticipate that are directives to process. It's beautiful, and your ability to share that is a true gift. So I want to thank you for giving us your time today. It's always an exciting course, always great feedback, and your ability to kind of give people the practical tips that are right in line with qual philosophy and principles and ethically sound, and really increasing the likelihood that people are going to come up with not just helpful but useful information. It's just such a powerful thing. We're really looking forward. Thank you so much to Paul and Jeff, and of course to you, Alison, for taking the time today.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.